What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with the review for Pose Season 3, Episode number 1, and the episode is titled On the Run. Alright, you guys, so this is the final season of Pose. Really sad about that, but we're going to get through it. So, I actually asked a question on Twitter, how many episodes is this season? So it's 7 episodes, so we will be done pretty soon, actually. Oh, damn, because we did 2 episodes tonight. All right, you guys. So without further ado, let's get into this review, shall we? All right, you guys. So this season so far, we are set to take place in the year 1994. So in 94, I was 3 years old, turning, nope, I was, yeah. No, I was 4 years old, turning 5. Yeah, I was 4 going on 5. So we see as Electra, you guys remember her job that she was doing, they get raided. So at this point, when they got raided, it's like she ain't got no job at this point. So we see her, she's talking to Blanca about what happened, and Blanca's like, maybe you need to start a new enterprise. Like, as smart as you are and the things that you can come up with, it's time for you to start a new enterprise. So we see Blanca. So Blanca's also trying to talk to Lamar, and she's telling Lamar to go see Cubby, and he's reluctant to do it. And at that point, I'm like, so Cubby must have AIDS at this point, and she's trying to get him to go see him before he dies. And instead, he's talking about, he's making a house, and he's also talking about her kids. He's talking about, Damon is a drunk, and he's one drink away from giving a blow job, a hand job, whatever he needs to do to get a drink. So we see, we're at the ball. So, at the ball, I had to read my notes to see what it said, understand what it said. So at the ball, they always give a trophy to the house who wins. Well, in connection with that, this time they're giving out a cash prize, and that cash prize is $1,000. So then we see some of the House of Khan, which is actually, oops, excuse me, I didn't mean to burp in your face. The House of Khan is Lamar's house. So we see one of his girls, her name is Pretentia Khan. And when she came down, I'm like, damn. I'm like, she looks good. And I'm like, I wouldn't be able to clock her. Like, I was looking at her, I'm like, damn, I would not be able to clock her. I know my best friend, we and her had a conversation about Pose last season. And I told her, I'm like, when it comes to Angel, I would have never guessed it about Angel. She says, I would have guessed it. I said, really? Like, what about Angel would have let you know? Because again, with Angel, I just would have never guessed it. And with Pretension, would have never guessed it. So, I will say though, the girls of House of Khan, there was another one, her name was Nefertiti, and she came out, and I'm like, okay, Lamar, you got a good looking house. So House of Khan won. So then we see the council with Pray Tell. So they trying to come up with the money, this $1,000. And Pray Tell was like, what was all that money that y'all was flashing at the ball? They were like, bitch, those were nothing but a bunch of ones. He's like, oh, stunt queens. So then Lamar and his house coming into the, to the diner. They want their money. And the council's like, we trying to get y'all money, but give us some time and we'll get it to you. Child, a whole fight broke out with the House of Khan and the council. In my notes, I will say the music. I knew the music from last season for sure, but this season's music so far, I know every song that they played. They played at one point. They played, yeah. At this point, I think when they were fighting, cotton candy, sweet and gold. Let me see that Tootsie Roll, that Tootsie Roll. Let me see that Tootsie Roll. Like that was my shit back in the day, because when my aunt and uncle, they had a upstairs, downstairs house and a basement. And my cousins and me used to have house parties all the time. And mind you guys, when this song came out, when the Tootsie Roll came out, I thought that was like 95, 96. I thought I was at least, well, 94, so I was 5. I was like, I had to be at least 5 or 6. Cause we would be in the basement and they would be like, Jerome, dance. And I'd just be in there dancing to the Tootsie Roll, to every song we could come up with. Then they played Warren G's Regulate. That's my song. I'm not even gonna do it. I'm not even gonna do it. But yeah, the music, I know this music. But let's move on, you guys. All right, you guys, next let's talk about Blanca. So Blanca got herself a nice little young buck. His name is Christopher. And now this next scene took me out because I actually remembered this. I was like, oh my God. So on the news, we see that slow speed chase with O.J. Simpson, the infamous scene that was on every news day. I really remember that case. I remember that slow speed chase. Everybody and their mom was watching it. I remember the trial. Everybody was watching it. And even the reactions of some of the, of the cast with the trial, with not even the trial, this slow speed chase, so many people felt, well, I mean, we all say OJ did it, but he just got away with it. But, that's allegedly, got to put that out there, allegedly. But, people in the 90s had because I had family members who said they didn't believe he did it, but then you have some family members like, yes, he did. I mean, he did it. And the one thing that I will say, what Pray Tell said was 100% true. Because when you think about OJ, I was too young to really know about him as a football player. But the main thing that I know about him is this trial. But then as I got older, I saw that Hertz commercial with him running through the airport. And I actually found I think it's on YouTube. I believe it's on here, that Hertz commercial, like him with oh my God. But Pray Tell was talking about OJ, how he was a football player, and though, they loved him up until that point. Up until that point, he fit right in. But when that whole trial happened, all that happened, he really learned what it was to be one of us. Like, that's just how I feel, And I was like, Pray Tell is saying what people has said for years about O.J. Simpson. He was fine with the white people up until that point, and up until that point, that's when he became a true black person. So now here's where I was confused at, because I don't remember. I kind of remember where we left off last season, but I kind of don't. What was Poppy? Was Poppy working last season? Because I don't remember that much. But Angel went to go see Poppy nonetheless, and there was a cute little girl there, and she asked Poppy, who was that? He says, oh, she's the receptionist. And, Angel looks a little, I'm like, Angel, chill out. I don't think it's anything. So Angel is in her feelings because she has not booked a job in the last year. And I love the fact that Poppy does give Angel, some, he just, he lifts his girl up. Like, he's all there for her. So we see Pray Tell. Pray Tell is working in a department store. It looked like either a Macy's, a Bloomingdale's, even Saks Fifth Avenue. See, this is the 90s. So this is the 90s. And I'm trying to remember in the 90s, because me and my mom and my family, we used to go to the department stores. Yes, they would. I was just about to say, I don't know if they would hire gay men and trans women in that. Yes, they would. They would use the hell out of them, because especially trans men and trans women more specifically, and gay men, they would use their asses in them. The makeup, you still see them working in the shoes and the makeup department and the perfume to this day. But I think in that day it was just a little bit different. They felt that, but yeah, you definitely saw it a lot more. But he's working in the perfume department. But I don't, again, like I said, I just don't think he's in an upskill. I mean, I know you see the white people in there, but it gave me a Dillard's vibe. Not being shady, just saying. So we also see Pray Tell, he got a flask. He's hitting the sauce. So I figured, I'm like, okay, so Pray Tell is down on himself because of his status, him having AIDS. And we see them at, the funeral home. Someone else has died. And this person has died. He just recently walked in a ball. It was Butch Queen. And, Pray Tell tells the council that he wants to retire. And they're like, you might want to retire, but we're not accepting it. So we're going to move on, you guys. All right, you guys. So it's really, looking at this show, it's interesting to see the stark parallels between today and in the 90s. It's really interesting to see where modern medicine has brought us, because in the 90s, HIV and AIDS was sort of a death sentence for anyone who contracted it. And, the ignorance in the 90s, which people still do it to this, people still have some of that ignorance today, but it's not as notable. It's not like it was back in the 90s. People still have that ignorance that it's a gay person's disease. It's anybody's disease. Let's keep it real. It's anybody's disease. Anybody can get HIV or AIDS if you're not safe when you're having sex. But in the 90s, like I said, it was just a death sentence. And looking at Cubby in that hospital bed, you know what? I was just about to say, I don't know anybody who passed away from AIDS. I do know someone who passed away from AIDS, and he was trans. Well, I don't know if Scat was trans or what. So, and don't take this the wrong way, you guys. There was, well, he was on my uncle that my aunt married. I knew him from that side of my family, and I don't know if Scat was trans or if Scat was just a cross-dresser. But I don't think I did see him outside of Troy. So I think he was a cross-dresser. And he passed away due to AIDS. Because he was fairly young. But see, me as a little boy, I didn't know what trans or cross-dressing was. All I saw was, in my face, I see a woman, gorgeous, but I also hear a deep voice, and that used to scare me. It scared me the first time I ever met him. It scared me the first time I met him, because I was like, I would think about my aunt, my grandmother, my mom, and I'm like, that's what I'm like. You don't sound like them. You have a deep voice, and it scared me for a minute, but the more we were around each other, it was nothing. But just thinking about it, like I said, looking at Cubby in that bed, just interesting, the stark parallel. Like I said, the 90s, you really couldn't live with HIV or AIDS. The only person that has really survived from that decade with AIDS is Magic Johnson. That's the only person that I know of. I think that's like one of the only people that I know of that has AIDS and has lived a full life. And now with today, you can get HIV and AIDS and you can live a full life. You can even go undetectable if you take, your medication. So something happened. So we see Blanca. She's talking to Cubby about his mom being there, and he says that he doesn't. His mom. He was talking about how his mom treated him, and Blanca's like, she may have treated you that way, but with this situation, this has opened her eyes. It's really sad that it took for her son to be on his deathbed for her to finally accept him. It's really sad. So we see, Blanca, she talks to Judy, and Blanca is having a hard time with it. And Judy asks her, like, so where are the kids at? And she tells her, everybody's gone. Only person that's still there is Damon, but even Damon doesn't need her. And Judy and Blanca are having a conversation, and I love the fact that Judy is, uplifting and inspiring Blanca. If she wants to be a nurse, that she should go and do it. So we see Ricky and Prey, they are still in a relationship, but at this point, things are not good with them because of Prey Tell's drinking, which we'll discuss that in the second episode. So on the news, we got that slow speed ass chase with O.J. Simpson in the Bronco. Oh God, that is interesting that they decided to play that off. I'm gonna pause here, you guys, and move forward. All right, you guys. So they have a watch they had a watch party for Blanca. Called everybody to come over for the watch party. Pray Tell, like I said, is just drinking himself to oblivion, basically. And like I said a few minutes ago earlier in the review, how Pray Tell, I didn't know I had got ahead of myself, but I did. Pray Tell was talking about how OJ was respectable with the white people until that situation happened. And after that, he turned into a regular old ass nigga. Basically. Again, man, I gotta tell you guys, the music in this episode, in this first episode alone, took me back to my childhood. They played I Wanna Be Down by Brandy. I was like, oh my God. So we see Angel and Lulu lay together. So Lulu is looking through a magazine and she shows Angel a picture of a girl. And Angel was like, I went out for this campaign, and she was wondering why she didn't get it. So Lulu tells Angel that she's back on the pole now. And, and Angel's like, I thought you said you had a degree. She says, I have an associate's. And in order to be in an accounting world, you have to have a bachelor's. Well, girl, take your ass back to school. But I know it's the 90s and people looked at trans women. It's interesting. Not much has changed for the trans women from the 90s to today. And that's really sad when you think about it. Not a lot has changed because there are a lot of trans women that, especially when they are dating men, and I'm gonna say that when they're dating men whose ego is fragile, their masculinity is fragile, and they get clocked, they want to go off and kill them. Like, I just don't understand that. Like, if you love trans women, be okay with that. Don't worry about what other people say, think, or feel. Be you. So yeah, like I said, not a lot is, just thinking about it, not a lot has changed for the trans women. Not a lot has changed for black people either, but that's a different story. One thing I do want to bring up is they mentioned, somebody said, who was it? Somebody thought that OJ would have got shot by the cops. I mean, if he had to stand on the highway, he probably could have, but he went home. And when he was in that neighborhood, I'm like, even with Prey, like, he like, look at them Sherburys, and they ain't gonna shoot him. But so Lulu and Angel, they start smoking weed, and then Angel's like, she notices a kick with the weed, and that's when Lulu told her it's laced with crack. I'm like, why would y'all do that? Whitney Houston did that because I remember her talking to Oprah, talking about she laced her weed with it. Jesus, I never would want to get to that point where I would have to, start where the weed is not enough for you that you have to lace it with another drug. And and when people do that and they smoke with other people, I have an issue with you just saying, oh, here, take the blunt. Oh, by the way, after they took a hit, oh, that's laced with fentanyl, heroin, crack, whatever. Like, tell me so I can make an informed decision about my life. I'm like, I would rather you tell me, and if I want to take that risk, then that's up to me. But if you just pass me the blunt and be like, and I'm like, the taste, that's a different, what kind of weed is this? Oh, it's laced with crack. Why didn't you leave with that? And actually, Angel answered that. So, again, I hopped ahead of myself. I hopped ahead of myself because Pray Tell said he thought the cops would shoot OJ until they got to his neighborhood. Which, like I said, I'm shocked that they didn't shoot him. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, he's still. But hey, it shows you what money does for a. It just shows you what money and power does for you. So we see, so everybody's there for the watch party. Damon is there, and Damon takes Pray Tell into his room to show him a book about Alcoholics Anonymous. They ain't gonna be the dead horse with this one. I get it, you guys love Pray, but at the end of the day, we'll talk about that later. So Electra shows up and she's asked what she's missing, and they told her about OJ, and she thinks that OJ is innocent. Even a 5-year-old me didn't think he was innocent. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. A 5-year-old me didn't think that man was innocent. Because the sad part about it, like I said, at 5 years old, during the day, if I wasn't at school, I was with my grandmother, and my grandmother was fairly young, but my grandmother was she would watch the trial, so she would watch court TV. So here's actually how our day would start. We would start up with the soap operas. We would watch the soaps, and we would then move over to the trial. And that would be that would be our midday if I'm staying with her during the day. That would be up until, I started. Yeah, this trial, actually all this stuff happened before I started school. I just thought about that. This all happened before I started school. God, what a time. So let's move on. All right, you guys. So we see everybody, they sit down for dinner. So Blanca tells the family that she wants them to get back into doing, walking the balls. At first, everybody's not with it. And even Electra's like, reluctant. But eventually everybody is on board with it. And Electra says, the first time we don't win a ball, I'm out. So then we see Blanca. So Chris, he's a doctor. And Blanca tells him that she's thinking about going back to school for nursing. And he tells her, he loves her and that he wants her to meet his parents. I'm like, oh, how long? He was like, I know we haven't been together that long. It's only been 6 months. I'm like, 6 months? Okay. I can dig it. But Blanca is nervous about meeting his parents because of who she is, and she's worried that they might clock her, which we're going to discuss that in the next episode review. So then she gets a call about Cubby, and we see everybody is there, and everybody's saying their goodbyes, and his mom is just basic. She's, I couldn't imagine what that's like for a parent to, one, bury your child, two, bury your child, and your child dies not knowing how you actually felt about them, thinking that you felt one way about them because of who they are. Sad. So Cubby does pass away, and Lamar shows up. Now, when Lamar shows up, Lamar is doing the fool, and they have to let him no, you tripping, he died. And then he's going off on Blanca, and Blanca's like, I told you for weeks to come up here and see him, but you didn't. And he going back and forth with him, and Electra's like, what? The best way to get at him, let's go to the ball, let's walk and win, and then honor Cubby. So that's what they do. So they play Shanice's song. So House of Evangelista, they did win the ball, and the $500 that they won, Blanca's gonna donate it somewhere in Cubby's memory. I forgot what she said, but they're gonna donate it in Cubby's memory. And the episode ended, we see Blanca, so she went to a school in Manhattan and got applications, and she's going to apply for nursing school. You go, Blanca. All right, you guys, so that's the end of this episode review. Damn it. I keep forgetting to say that in the beginning of the video. All right, you guys, subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell button so you guys are aware when I drop anything else. Like this video, share this video, and until the next one, you guys, stay safe out there, take care of yourselves. Remember to wash your hands wear your mask and socially distance, and we're going to get through this together. And stay blessed, you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.